It started in a quiet Essex neighborhood, where no one expected one of the strongest young voices in Britain to emerge. Born in 1995 in Goodmayes, Essex, Jonathan Antoine spent his early years far from the bright lights of television studios or the demanding expectations of the classical music world. His childhood was marked by gentle routines and an early love for music that he didn't fully understand yet. Reportedly shy and introverted, he often kept to himself, finding comfort in familiar spaces rather than crowds. But that changed when he began formal singing lessons at just 11 years old, less a pursuit of stardom and more a personal escape. What followed was a surprising discovery. When his voice broke at age 13, instead of losing control of his tone, he developed a strikingly powerful tenor voice unusual for someone so young. Teachers quickly recognized his potential. He won early accolades, including school competitions and local awards that hinted at his artistic direction. But despite early praise, Jonathan remained reserved. His talent felt more like a private possession than a public ambition. Yet the turning point arrived when he began classical vocal training, and mentors guided him towards shaping raw ability into a professional voice. Those around him noticed the depth and emotional weight in his tone, traits typically found in far older performers. By the time he was 17, it was clear the quiet student from Essex possessed an extraordinary gift, even if he didn't yet realize how dramatically it would transform his future. What happened on that stage left millions stunned, and it only took one note. In 2012, Jonathan Antoine and school friend Charlotte Giaconelli walked onto the Britain's Got Talent stage as an unassuming teenage duo. Jonathan's nerves were visible. Cameras captured the tension in his expression moments before the judges asked for their introduction. Many viewers assumed they were just another nervous pair hopping for a chance. But the instant Jonathan began the opening line of the prayer, the tone of the entire audition shifted. His voice erupted with clarity, emotional depth, and a classical resonance rarely heard on mainstream talent shows. Within seconds, the audience fell silent, and judge reactions reflected genuine surprise, not the staged kind often associated with reality TV, but the real, unfiltered kind. As the performance continued, viewers witnessed an unusual blend of vocal maturity and emotional vulnerability. The audition clip quickly spread online, amassing millions of views within days. Headlines nationwide labeled him the standout act of the season. Although the duo ultimately placed second in the competition, the audition itself became one of the show's most memorable moments. Media outlets compared his vocal presence to celebrated opera figures, sparking early discussion that Jonathan Antoine might be the most promising young classical voice Britain had seen in years. That single performance marked the beginning of his transformation from a shy student into a rising public figure whose voice captivated international audiences. What happened after the cameras stopped rolling surprised even the show's producers. Following their standout run on Britain's Got Talent in 2012, Jonathan Antoine and Charlotte Giaconelli suddenly found themselves at the center of intense media and industry attention. Despite finishing second in the competition, it became clear that the public response to their performances was unusually strong. Just days after the finale, reports confirmed that the duo had secured a significant recording contract with Simon Cowell's Sicko Music, a move that signaled the industry's confidence in their commercial appeal. Their first album together was released the same year and debuted with strong chart performance, demonstrating that the momentum from their television appearance could translate into real-world success. Critics noted that Jonathan's voice carried much of the emotional weight of the project, and audiences responded to that authenticity. The duo quickly followed up with a second album, Perhaps Love, in 2013, solidifying their presence in the classical crossover market. As press coverage expanded, Jonathan's profile continued to grow, and he became known not just as a talent show standout, but as a promising young tenor with the ability to draw both classical listeners and mainstream audiences. His vocal tone, stage presence, and rapid artistic development during this period set the foundation for his next major career shift, one that would define him far beyond his early television image. The duo's success was impressive, but it soon became clear that Jonathan had a deeper artistic path ahead of him. The moment he stepped out alone, everything about his career began accelerating. In 2014, Jonathan Antoine and Charlotte Giaconelli officially ended their partnership, a decision framed as an amicable split driven by artistic differences and personal growth. Both artists were offered separate recording contracts, indicating the industry's faith in their individual potential. For Jonathan, this turning point marked the beginning of a more focused and personal musical direction. His solo debut album, Tenor, released in 2014, immediately demonstrated his ability to stand independently in the classical world. Critics praised the album for its technical strength and emotional resonance, noting that Jonathan's interpretations carried a maturity far beyond his years. The project's success allowed him to step more confidently into international classical crossover circles. 2 years later, he released Believe, an album that further showcased his developing range and musical identity. Industry observers highlighted the noticeable evolution in his vocal control, phrasing, and stylistic choices. Rather than simply being a product of a talent show, Jonathan was establishing himself as a serious artist with long-term staying power. Concert invitations increased, and his audience expanded across Europe and North America. As media recognition grew, it became evident that Jonathan's career was transitioning from television curiosity to legitimate classical ascent, one built on consistent improvement, dedicated training, and a clear artistic voice that resonated deeply with listeners. It wasn't a nickname he asked for, yet it followed him everywhere he went. As Jonathan Antoine continued gaining recognition, a new wave of media interest surrounded him, much of it centered on the increasingly frequent comparison between his voice and that of the legendary Luciano Pavarotti. Critics, vocal coaches, and even some opera enthusiasts remarked on the richness of Jonathan's tone, the weight of his lower register, and the emotional clarity in his high notes. These qualities led several outlets to describe him as a modern successor in spirit to iconic tenors of past generations. While such comparisons can create pressure, they also reflect the rare nature of Jonathan's sound, particularly considering his age and relatively short professional timeline at the time. During this period, Jonathan expanded his global footprint, performing at high-profile events and appearing in concert programs that introduced him to broader international audiences. His versatility became a key part of his appeal. He blended elements of classical opera with contemporary crossover arrangements, allowing younger listeners to engage with a genre often perceived as inaccessible. The release of his album Going the Distance underscored his maturation as an artist, featuring a mix of traditional pieces and inventive adaptations. The more audiences heard him, the more the heir to Pavarotti label persisted, not as a marketing phrase, but as a widespread observation rooted in the distinct emotional impact of his voice. Behind the applause, there was a quieter story shaping his future. While Jonathan's career flourished, he was also navigating the personal realities of growing up under public attention. From a young age, he had been candid about being introverted and sometimes feeling out of place in social environments. School had been difficult at times, and he even left sixth form before his BGT audition, a decision shaped by personal stress and uncertainty about the future. When fame arrived suddenly, it brought both opportunity and new pressures. Media comparisons, industry expectations, and the intense spotlight of early success created moments of self-doubt. Jonathan later described the period as one of learning to balance his identity as a person with the growing identity of his public career. Instead of letting this pressure dictate his direction, Jonathan turned toward self-development and consistent dedication to his craft. Vocal training, mental resilience, and a deepening connection to music helped him navigate the complexities of early stardom. Industry professionals often remarked on his grounded demeanor despite rapid recognition. Over time, Jonathan embraced the role of an artist who could inspire others facing similar struggles. His authenticity became part of his public appeal, not just the voice, but the person behind it. This phase of challenges and reflection ultimately strengthened his artistic voice, shaping a more confident and mature performer ready for the next stages of his global career. Even now, his story feels less like an ending and more like a beginning. Today, Jonathan Antoine stands as one of the most influential classical crossover tenors of his generation. His journey from a shy teenager on a televised talent show to an internationally recognized vocalist has resonated with audiences who see in him a combination of natural talent, resilience, and sincerity. His presence has contributed to a renewed interest in classical music among younger listeners, many of whom first encountered the genre through his performances. Critics note that his ability to bridge contemporary and classical styles makes him an essential figure in the genre's evolution. Jonathan's ongoing work includes album projects, live concerts, collaborations, and media appearances that continue expanding his reach. Fans and commentators alike frequently speculate about future directions, whether he will move deeper into traditional opera, continue diversifying classical crossover, or explore entirely new stylistic avenues. Regardless of the path, his impact is already significant. He has made classical vocals accessible to audiences who may never have engaged with the genre otherwise. As he refines his artistry and takes on new challenges, his legacy continues to grow, highlighting a career defined not just by talent, but by adaptability and purpose. For many observers, Jonathan Antoine represents the modern evolution of the classical tenor, and his story continues unfolding with each new performance.